doing air quotes for those of you who can't see me, to share experiences, pool resources, and build a community of cities to inspire local action on a global scale. That's, of course, a lot of political doublespeak and a lot of fancy left-wing-minded BS to try and make you feel good about it. Here's what we're saying we're going to do. Now, of course, U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch also in the announcement said that, quote, the Strong Cities Network will serve as a vital tool to strengthen capacity building and improve collaboration. And it will, quote, enable cities to learn from one another, to develop best practices, and to build social cohesion and community resiliencies here at home and around the world. Now, I don't know about you guys, but it sounds like a whole lot of BS to me. That's a lot of smoke that's getting blowed up our backsides. Because first and foremost, any city leader that wants to learn from the example of another city can do so quite easily. This is the information super age. We can hop online and we can find out what's going on in almost any other city around the country. Larry in the chat room says it's putting lipstick on the Agenda 21 pig. And, yeah, that's exactly what this is. Now, for the folks that may or may not be that familiar with what this whole thing is, and I have yet to come across, I was looking for, even before I came on the air here, trying to get some last-minute research, I was looking for a list of cities that are currently expected to be participating in this. Obviously, New York is among them. St. Louis is among them. But this is based on other readings I've done. I haven't come across a list. I think maybe they might be trying to keep that low-key at this moment because they don't want folks to know how few cities are actually participating. But, again, I'm not completely sure about that. But this is all sprung off of the UN Habitat Program. The United Nations program claims to be working towards a better urban future, but its mission is to promote socially and environmentally sustainable human settlements, development, and the achievement of adequate shelter for all. They go on to claim that cities are facing unprecedented demographic, environmental, always with the environment with these people, economic, social, and spatial challenges. In other words, when the populations in the city grows, they need more elbow room. I got it. The social issue, well, in better than two-thirds of the world right now, the biggest social issue you have going on is the conflict between Islam and everybody else. The religion of peace is only peaceful when they are the only ones in control. And they go on and they talk over and over again. They're looking to try and create a better environment for the world because they claim that roughly about 6 out of every 10 people in the world will be living in an urban area by 2030. Over 90% of this growth will take place in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean. In other words, the third world. So why should we be that concerned about the third world population expanse? The biggest reason for us to be concerned about it is because, again, a whole lot of Islam is being spread by the sword in these same locations. Now, the Strong Cities is being painted as if it's just this great collaboration. But the folks that are most concerned have voiced strong criticism about the fact that part of law enforcement within these cities are going to share, that's right, share operational and jurisdictional operations with the UN. Now, that goes actually beyond Agenda 21. This moves beyond the sustainability of urban areas. This goes into allowing UN troops, for lack of a better word, to be operational within cities of the United States. Now, we already seem to have a huge disconnect in this country about who trumps who when it comes to law enforcement. Everybody tends to think that first you have the locals, then you have the county, then you have the state, and then you have the federal, and each one of them is part of this hierarchy. And that's not the case. The highest ranking law enforcement official in your jurisdiction is your sheriff. The FBI can come in, and there are things they are mandated to do, but the sheriff's department has the highest jurisdiction in your area. Most people don't know that. They don't realize it. It's information the government doesn't want you to know. It's information that the public schools don't want to teach people anymore, again, because the government doesn't want you to know. This, to me, I believe, sets an extremely dangerous precedent. It allows the door to be opened for the express purpose of having the United Nations operating in uniform with guns inside American cities. So that leads back to the question I asked in today's show description. Is this a genuine effort to try and create a better future for everyone? Or is it a backdoor way, first step towards taking away sovereignty from the United States? Now, regardless of the intention, there's no doubting that the possibility is opened up for that first step towards losing sovereignty. And that shouldn't even be possible in this country. This country was built on the premise that the individual citizens were, in fact, the sovereigns. The regular listeners, and the majority of the folks that I see right in the chat room right now, I know are also regular listeners of the Underground Professor. And I know the professor has talked a great deal about the consent of the governed and how it is the individuals that are the sovereigns of this nation. So I know that I've got some constitutional backup on this. I know that the hardcore listeners, the folks that are ordinarily the regular listeners here, they're already on board with this. So for those of you who are new to the show, listening for the first time and have never heard it, I need you to be certain that you hear this. It is the individual who is the sovereign. We all have a stake in where this country goes. That's why we're all in need to be active and educated when it comes to the political world. We have to pay attention. We have to see up front what is happening and where our government is leading us. They have to be answerable to us. And that gets a whole lot harder if we're going to sit back and delegate certain responsibilities to an international body that really has absolutely zero business being inside our borders and operating in a military fashion. We already have the Human Rights Committee looking into the Native American situation. We talked a little bit about that last week. You know, we were having the discussion the day before Columbus Day about how folks were trying to change Columbus Day into the Indigenous Peoples Day. And we talk about the pros, the cons, and where I feel on the issue. So we have Agenda 21 already being propped up by several communities across the country. And everybody, they keep trying. Even now, they try to tell us Agenda 21, that's just conspiracy theory talk. There is too much evidence for anybody to make that legitimate claim. But they know that there are still too many people that are not educating themselves. They're not paying attention. They put more emphasis over a weekend like this weekend into watching sports than they do into watching their politicians. Who's paying attention to the Friday news dump? I know Larry, or the Prime Directive, is. That's one of his big segments on his Friday night show. Looks at all the information that gets dumped. Our government knows that they are going to dump this information on the American public on a Friday evening, because they know by that time most Americans have already moved into their weekend mode. They know that most Americans have already made their slide into, I'm not worrying about stuff, I'm just spending time with my friends, family, I'm relaxing, I'm going to party, I'm going to do whatever it is that they're going to do that weekend. For the folks that actually get to relax and enjoy it, kudos to you. A lot of us actually have a lot of stuff around the house to do, and we don't get that much rest. So those of us who are still out there earning a living, doing the 9 to 5, wish I was just working 40 hours. Those of us doing that, we don't have that same amount of time through the week, so the weekends are our time to catch up around the house. Now, for those of us who aren't still in that situation, if you're a responsible and you're a productive member of society, chances are you're still finding lots of useful things to do over the course of a weekend. But most people, they don't want to know what's going on. They want to focus on the Friday night date or the Saturday afternoon football game, or today the all-day Sunday NFL. Whatever their focus is, our government knows they're not paying attention. So we get all this information dumped on us on Fridays. I'm going to continue to keep an eye on this as more information becomes available, and we're going to keep looking at this scenario, because it still comes down to the same simple question that I ask the liberals every time they talk about their guy. When they're talking about Barack Hussein Halu Akbar Obama and his power to use his pen and his phone, they're perfectly all right with that. But let's say Donald Trump becomes the next president, since he is still leading in all the polls. Those same people that are okay with Barack Obama doing it suddenly are going to have all kinds of problems with a President Trump doing the exact same thing. The action is the same, but they're not going to like it. And they're not going to like it because he's not their guy. Now, they trust, heaven help us, who knows why, but they trust Mr. El Presidente Barack Hussein Alu Akbar Obama with this power, with this authority. They trust him. They think it's the right thing to do. They need to stop and realize, as I pointed out a bajillion times, so for those of you who are regular listeners and you've heard this before, I apologize, but for the new listeners, they need to hear it. If you don't trust the other guy with this power, you shouldn't let your guy have it. Period. It's just that simple. All right. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and shift gears a little bit. I'm going to take another quick break. And at the end of that break, we'll be joined by Tennessee State Representative Sheila-Butt. So stay with us, and we'll be right back. All right. Well, of course, I was playing She Lies in honor of Hillary Clinton. I play that song in the bumper mode way more often when Hillary is in the news for any particular reason. And, of course, I wanted to make sure it's very clear that that is directed towards Hillary. Right now with us on the line, though, is Tennessee State Representative Sheila-Butt. Sheila, thank you very much for joining us today.
Oh, I'm glad to do it.
All right. For the folks that aren't that familiar with you, go ahead and let all the listeners know a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I am State Representative